Hello, my beautiful earth angels. My name is Joanna. Welcome to my channel. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope you stay. I hope what you like, you hear what you like, or I hope you like what you hear. And if you do, click on the subscribe button. It would really be helping me help other people know that there is interesting content in here. So thank you. I hope you stay. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much. You returning over and over makes me keep going. I do this essentially for you. So without further ado, this is going to be these are going to be messages for the month of May, thereabouts, May, June. For some of you, you will have experienced this already in the month of April. I am recording this in late April. But if it does not make sense to you right away, give yourself a few weeks, maybe even a couple of months, return to this message again, because I believe for most of you, it will make sense. As I'm seeing or perceiving information from possible future, because we're not in that, it's hard for us sometimes to notice, to make sense of the messages, but generally over time they will make sense to you. This is the second month of the new format, so I will go through general message for all air signs, and at the end I will have a specific message for each sign of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. But the general message will still apply to you regardless whether you're Leo, Aries, or Sagittarius. So the other ones are just a little bit more specific. All right, what do I want to say first and foremost? The moment I'm tuning into this energy, I feel the sign of cross, and it's not cross because someone is dying. I mean, situations could be transforming, yes, but cross is to me a signature sign that we are coming to a point of our own journey where there is a choice or decision to make, or if it's not right now, the time of you listening to it, then there will be very shortly. And I want to say May or June. And it may coincide with the world coming back a little bit more to norm. It can certainly have that to do with that. But it doesn't necessarily have to. It could be, you know, just how things are unfolding. But there is a general feeling here that we, I'm going to put myself in it, we are approaching a time of, I want to say, what do I want to say? A lot of interesting situations. What may feel like an upheaval today may and most likely will be seen by many as a blessing in disguise. And often blessing in disguise is often, if not always, realized time later. So as we are going through these interesting times and interesting situations, many things may be falling down or being reconstructed or dismantled, but there is a reason and a purpose for that, and everybody has their own take on it. Everybody has their own truth and belief around it. Point is, when there is a crossroads, choices or decisions will likely be made. Either will be made for you or will be made by you, or both. I guess I could have both. And as such, what I was observing is closing doors and or cycles, which ultimately will create other opportunities. And it's also, this is indicative of transformation. So there's no point in denying the fact that most people are going through some pretty interesting times, and we could term these times as very transformative. And that's because we are in a space where we are doing things that are different from before, for the most part because we had to, And as a result of having to do these different things, we're beginning to realize certain truths about ourselves and about the world. And as we become more in tune with these truths, we begin to, it's almost like we begin to remember, or we begin to wake up. And as a result of this waking up, we begin to see things much clearer. So let's just put it into perspective. Perhaps some of you have envisioned your life very differently before the virus. And now, as you have been experiencing the virus in your specific way, you're beginning to have a very different view or outlook on your future. And as a result of that, you begin to transform certain things in your life, or certain things in your life are transforming as a result of these circumstances. And as such, you begin to take, your life begins to take a different path or a different route than the one that you have envisioned prior to the virus. And for many of you, this is about being more responsible for your own choices. What do I mean by that? Choosing to decide for yourself, by yourself, based on what is most important to you. So this speaks to beliefs, shifts in beliefs and thinking. And when we shift our thinking, when we shift our beliefs, or when we shift our beliefs, our thinking shifts as a result. And that in itself is the transformation. And as this transformation takes place on the conscious and subconscious mind, then we begin to form a different worldview. And then as a result of the different worldview, we begin to attract different experiences. So this time, for many, is almost like you're being dialed in to what your, let's call it, purpose is. Or you're being dialed in more closer to your purpose, or more, or this situation is dialing you in more to be in tune with your purpose. And I don't want to say the word purpose as a goal, because everyone's purpose is to be here. But let's just, I want to give it some kind of structure. So the closing doors and ending cycles and new opportunities coming as a result of it, that in itself, to me, speaks of a major transformation. So if you are part of this world, if you live on planet Earth, and I suspect you do, otherwise you probably wouldn't be listening to this, then you have been affected by what is going on to some extent or some degree. Majority of my listeners are from United States, and then they're different countries. And so we are greatly affected by what's going on. So don't be afraid of changes. We don't often, as humans, look towards forward to changes, because let's face it, change means something that has been no longer is, and as a result of that, we have to adapt, we have to reaccommodate, and that means letting go of what's familiar and putting in its place things that are new and often unfamiliar, and that requires a lot of trust. As a matter of fact, the word trust and allow is like very much in your energy. I'm including myself in it because when I speak, it's like I have to be a part of it. So I am, for a moment, being air sign. However, I do have, fire sign, but I do have a fire sign in one of my houses. So the question, who am I supposed to be, was what floated to me. And some of you may be asking yourself this question over the next little few weeks, month to a month and a half, to even going forward. Who am I supposed to be? Who am I supposed to be? And the word supposed is what's being highlighted here, because you're not supposed to be anything. Suppose means, or supposes, that there is something out there somewhere that is telling you what you are supposed to be. Well, if that is the case, then you are not living you. You are living based on what someone else has created as an idea of what's supposed to be. And that does not make us very independent. And it feels like we are moving more into much more independent times. What does that mean when I say more independent? We are much more in tune with who we are and therefore less dependent on other people's beliefs and other people's systems. Now, systems do exist because we live in a world where we have to hang on to certain things in order to navigate in life. So yes, there are some structures in life that we have to adhere to give it some, to give it some map. But for the most part, it's to living according to one's individual inner power, or to live in accordance with one's inner power. Can I say it that way? One's inner truth. That would definitely be an independent person. So why is all of this coming out right now? Well, because we are closing doors and we are closing cycles. And as such, there is a need to let go. Whether it is a need to let go of an old acquaintance, of an old job, of an old car, of something that is no longer of use to you, whatever it is that is preventing you from being better, being more, being more expanded, whatever it is that's holding you back, it's time to look at these things right now. And some of the responsibilities that we have devoted our time and effort into, we have outgrown them. Some of these responsibilities we have outgrown. And some of these responsibilities are being called habits. So many of us are in a habit of being ourselves, and some habits are not great habits, as we know. And as we know, habits are not particularly easy to break. And that's because habits fulfill a fundamental component, and that is they fulfill a certain need. Each habit fulfills a need. Once we understand what the need is about, we can often find a new way of fulfilling that need through a healthier habit. So we are in a habit of being ourselves. And I believe Joe Dispenza actually phrased that. We're in a habit of being ourselves. I heard, get out of your head. Get out of your head. It is no secret that when we overthink, things begin to go awry. Because, well, head is all about beliefs, attachments. And when we get too stuck in our heads, when we overthink, when we overanalyze, not only do we become more confused, we don't get the answer we were looking for in the first place. So what does it mean to get out of your head? It means not to think so much. But try telling somebody who thinks a lot not to think so much. They're going to punch you in the face. And that's because it's who they are. So they're in a habit of being themselves. They're in a habit of being in their head. Habits are automatic. They happen automatically. It's not so much a conscious choice. It happens, well, automatically. So how do we become less of ourselves if we are in a habit of being ourselves? Well, for one, we need to slow down. When we slow down, we have more possibility to observe. When we are in observance or in observation of, we are less likely to react. We often, not always, but often react out of fear. When we slow down, we are less likely to react to our fear. And not only are we able to then better understand what the fear is about, but also find a different way of responding to it. So this is very much about owning back your power. If you are very much in your head, somehow you have given your power to your thoughts, your beliefs. And your beliefs are not you. Your beliefs are part of you, but they're not you. You're independent of your beliefs. Now, do certain beliefs make you a certain way? Yes, but you're more than your beliefs. So the crossroads, or closing of chapters of cycles, is very much about releasing certain restricted or restrictive beliefs. Who am I supposed to be is a very restricted way of looking at your future. On the other hand, if you ask yourself the question, if I had it my way, who would I choose to be? Not what would I choose to do, but who would I choose to be? Then that affords more opportunities, more creativity. So if you are asking yourself, who am I supposed to be going forward? Rephrase the question and ask yourself, who would I choose to experience being instead? Or who would I choose to experience as far as me being an experience next? How do I choose to experience my life next? That's a much more interesting question. Let's go through some of the cards. The deck that I'm using, again, some of you asked this. Some of you asked for this actually a lot. It's called Soul Cards. They don't have meanings or numbers or anything, and it is by Deborah Koff Chapin, I believe. Chapin, and it's Soul Cards. I got them on Amazon a long time ago. I believe this is Soul Cards 1. Yes, it's Soul Cards 1. There's also Soul Cards 2. I don't have Soul Cards 2. So what represents the next few weeks, couple of months? Notice what you get from this vision. What I got is literally feeling lost. And maybe that's why you're asking yourself the question, who am I supposed to be? And some of you may feel that way for the next little while, feeling like you're lost. Feeling like you're lost. But it's not that you're lost because you know exactly where you are. You're just not sure where you're going. So as long as you focus on what's in front of you, what's in the present, you will be less likely to be stuck in your head, because you will not constantly be questioning what's next, or what am I supposed to do next, or who am I supposed to be next, or what am I supposed to do. So the way to get through this feeling of feeling lost is to focus on the present. As I'm saying this to you, as I'm channeling this to you, my logical brain is trying to come in and think about it. Because as I'm channeling, I don't necessarily think about what I'm channeling. So I'm trying to work this out in my own head. But I would guess it makes sense to me. When we focus in the present, we are more in the feeling of what is, rather than what we are trying to create, or what is supposed to happen, or what we fear is going to happen or not happen. And of course, it would go without saying that meditation of any kind, stilling your mind, would be fantastically helpful with practicing being more present. The best way, or the easiest way, one of the easiest way to focus being present is to focus on what you are feeling. Whether you focus on your body, how does your body feel? Whether you focus on what you feel inside of your body, whether you focus on your current experience, you listening to me, for example, and how does what I say feel to you when you receive it? Where does it feel? Where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your head, or do you feel it in your throat? Do you feel it in your heart? Do you feel it in your gut? Where do you feel it? Observe the energy of the feeling. That is how you become more present. Now, your mind is going to come online and try to go try to tell you different stories. And that's for those of you who are analytical minded, this will happen, and it happens so quickly you don't even know it. When I have a client who is very analytical, we do certain exercises, and I train her, or train the person, to look at how automatically they jump into their head without even knowing it. So I help them recognize certain cues so they can come back to the feeling. But to be less lost, or to feel less lost is to come back to the now. And then I just heard, well, what if I feel lost in the moment, in the now? Great question. Thank you, whoever is asking. It means to allow yourself to tune into this feeling of feeling lost, knowing the feeling in and of itself is not going to kill you. It's not going to harm you. It's uncomfortable, but in and of itself, it can't do anything. It's what you do with it. So what does it feel like to feel lost? For example, I feel it right here, and it's radiating towards my throat. And it almost feels like heat inside of me. It's like a lot of heat. What does it feel like to feel lost? You may feel different. What does it feel like to feel lost? Perhaps to feel lost means you have no direction, okay? Perhaps to feel lost means I don't know what's going to happen. It makes you feel unsafe, okay? Perhaps to feel lost means you have no security. You don't know what to grab onto. You feel unsafe, okay? There's probably many other things associated with feeling lost. But if you can allow yourself to actually tune into that feeling and imagine this feeling having its own voice. Remember, it's a part of you. And if you were to close your eyes and feel this feeling of, let's say, feeling lost, or whatever other feeling it may be for you, and you imagine that this feeling has its own voice that it can express. If you were to ask this question, why do I feel lost? What would it tell you? Perhaps it would tell you that you have lost yourself. What does it mean to lose yourself? What does it mean to lose yourself? Perhaps to lose yourself means you don't know where you belong. Perhaps to lose yourself means you don't know who you are. Perhaps to lose yourself means you don't know what you want or what you're supposed to do. Perhaps it means many other things that I haven't mentioned. The point is that you will feel lost until you decide or choose to find yourself. So how does one find themselves? Simply by tuning in and asking yourself this question. Out of all the things in my life that I have or don't have yet, what is the one most important thing to me personally? And there will be various questions or answers that will come up. For some of you, it could be to know that I make a difference. You do. If that is your answer, accept the fact that you make a difference already. For some of you, it could be, it means that I'm being loved. Okay? You are being loved right now. If that's your answer, if you're finding yourself means you're feeling loved, who's the one that's loving you? Because you are being loved. And if you don't feel love, it's because you don't love you. Doesn't mean you're not being loved. And I could go on and give a whole bunch of different examples, but I think you get the feeling. I think you get the gist of it. And I feel it's an important exercise to go through, particularly during these eventful and unsure times. Now, the next card is beautiful. Not that the first one wasn't. Notice what you see. This card came up in the weekly pulses, I believe. This card actually comes up a lot lately. The moment I saw this card, I heard clear as day, allow. Simply allow. Allow. What does it mean to allow something? What does it mean to allow something? To me, it means to allow something to come from you or through you. How do we allow? by being less resistant. How do we become less resistant? Well, what we could do is try to understand what it is that we are resisting. Generally, we resist change. Change is part of life. We cannot get away from change. As a matter of fact, change is the only thing that's constant. So if we are resisting change, we're in trouble. Because if we're resisting change, then we are resisting life itself. So to allow, can be said, is being in less resistance. And I believe that if we are in the moment, if we are more in the moment, we are in less resistance. So notice what you get from this particular card. It's a beautiful card. The other message I'm getting from this, we are all of us, being supported to help us allow to come out, to help us come out. And the feeling I get is we are allowing ourselves to come out of hiding. Whether you are coming out of a closet, whether you are coming out of hiding in your family, whether you are coming out of hiding from you, there's an aspect of you that wants to come out and express. Whatever it may be for you, it will be very different for different people. For some of you, you are healers and you have powerful, powerful, powerful hands. Powerful hands. You have a lot of energy in your hands. And I feel most of you will know, if you have it, you'll know it. It can be felt like heat, a lot of heat. You may just have a lot of sensitivity. You may sense heat. You may project heat. Hands. Notice these hands are here lit up. There's a lot of energy coming through hands. So for some of you, there is a healer that's emerging. But again, it's not because you're supposed to be a healer, because you already are. You're not supposed to be anything. Scratch the word supposed to. Not supposed to. You're not supposed to be the enemy. You decide. Whatever it is that's coming out of you, allow it. Allow it. When you notice resistance, tune into it. And let the resistance tell you why it's there. I communicate with resistance, with feeling, any kind of feeling, like I would communicate with a regular person. And there's a specific technique, actually, that I got from being a hypnotherapist, where I won't go into the details, but you can uncover and resolve many, many, many inner conflicts through this fairly uncomplicated technique. So if you're feeling resistance, tune into this resistance and have a conversation with it. What is it resisting and why? What is it resisting and why? This next card, again, look at the hands, the position of the hands. Once again, I hear allow. There's a lot of activity going on in your guys' solar plexus. This can feel like heartburn. This can feel like acidity, burning sensations. There is a lot of transformative energies happening in solar plexus, but it makes perfect sense, as I said, because that's our power center. That's our empowerment. Right? The whole idea of what am I supposed to be is a fairly disempowered state, because it's not supposed to be anything. You have the power to decide what you're supposed to be, what you want to be. Okay? For some of you, you may feel these arms up as giving up. I feel this as surrender. Water and fire. Water being emotions, fire, spirit. The fire is transforming. Water is the energy of emotions. There's a lot going on over the next little while. Energetically, emotionally, spiritually. And the advice here, or the guidance here, is relax into it and allow it. And what's the word? Surrender. Okay. If some of you are closing doors, or life is closing doors or chapters for you, and it's just happening, you have pretty much no say in it. The only thing really you can do is just surrender to it and see it as an opportunity for something that's much greater, except something is something you cannot see yet. Okay, remember, trust and allow are your two key words. Trust and allow, huge. The card of time to go, which is indicative of closing doors, lessons, came up in this position. To me, it's indicative that some of you are still holding on to some things. And as a result of that, you're not quite ready to move on to the next phase or the next step. There's something about not being ready to move on. And even though I talk about opening doors and opportunities, I feel that happening shortly. But in a month, or even in May, or even some of June, you will still be in a space where the new opportunity isn't happening yet. You're still in a space where wherever you are, it's serving you. And speaking of transformation, this is the energy that's supporting you. Now, how great is that? That's Phoenix rising from the ashes. That's the ultimate symbol of transformation. Death and rebirth. I was listening to one of the videos for the 6-month messages for the first 6 months in this year, 2020. And I was saying in a video that every single sign I've done, and I was doing them in December last year, every single sign, the energy was, well, absolutely transformative. And now as I look back at life and what we're going, no wonder I was picking up all this transformative energy, because we are transforming globally. So this symbol, absolutely perfect. And because of this transformation, certain aspects will be revealed. And what is being revealed is our true connection to who we are. And that goes beyond the thinking. You know, I almost want to say it goes beyond the belief. It's because it's not what you believe. It's what you feel. It's what you can feel in your body. I guess you can call it belief, but it's a body. It's like a body knowing. So there's a lot of wonderful and interesting things happening. I'm going to show you this card because it struck me. I wasn't expecting it. To me, when I saw this, and this is a depiction of a face, and I see this almost as tears. And I felt right away that this was like a depiction of Mother Gaia crying. And I'm saying, is she crying for herself? And I just heard, no, she's crying for her inhabitants. And when I zoom out, it's almost a feeling of Mother Earth watching ourselves fight amongst each other. Who's wrong, who's right? Who's good, who's bad? And not everybody, of course, not everybody. And there's a lot of people who are obviously now creating incredible feats of helping and being considerate and just loving and all that kind of stuff. So, of course, she's not crying about those people. I feel like she's crying at those inhabitants who live in poverty consciousness. So if you have a way to influence somebody in terms of what they believe about themselves or what they think of themselves, and you can have a hand, right? If you can have a hand in helping the person see themselves differently, so that the way they see themselves turns around, so that they move from scarcity to abundance, that will ultimately help Mother Earth. When we are kind to ourselves, we are generally kinder to other people and other beings who occupy this earth. And we don't own Earth. We are guests here. So it was interesting that the message of Gaia showed up for you guys, because it didn't show up in the other messages. Okay. Let's go through some individual signs. So for the sign of Aries, the 5 of Cups in reverse and the 9 of Cups in reverse. So here's how I received the message. The 5 of Cups in reverse is moving past disappointments, letting go of that which is no longer, and letting go of that which was but is no longer, and there was a whole bunch of disappointment about it. Any nostalgia about, I wish things were this way or that way, that does not help you move from your past, I feel like we're clearing it. The 9 of Cups, to me, represents inferiority, feelings of inferiority. So if you are one of those people who has feelings of inferiority, you feel less than, you are moving past it. Or this year, for many of you, you will move past your feelings of inferiority. Now, if you really think about it, that's a message of being in power. And we are certainly moving in that direction. So that's a beautiful message for you, Aries. I love seeing that. If you struggled with self-confidence, if you struggled with self-worth, if you felt emotionally unsupported by the universe, if you felt disappointed in the past is the past. You can't change that, but you're choosing to transform this disappointment, and you're choosing it to use it to your advantage in a positive way. That's transformation. Okay, so that's for you, Aries, guys. For the sign of Leo, we have the Emperor in reverse, and we have the Moon in reverse. Okay, so the Moon represents things unseen. It represents fears, shadows. Okay. For some of you, you may feel slightly off your game. You may feel like you're not able to be in your own command. Let me just see if I can tune in a little bit more. There's a bit of irritation here. So if you are running a company, or if you are running your business, well, that makes sense now. If you are in a position where you have a lot of responsibility, there's a lot of a commotion going on, and it feels like you don't have a grasp. It feels like you don't feel you have a grasp on things, even though you do on some level. It feels like you feel you don't. However, it feels transient. It feels transient. So for some of you will feel it a lot. Some of you will not feel it at all. To me, it feels like you're not in command of your own life. And I feel it has to do a lot with what's been going on. And it feels very much in business or in work situation. Okay, you're not in your own command. Why are you not in your own command? Is it because you can't, or it's many pieces are out of your control? Now that makes perfect sense. Of course, there's a lot of pieces that are out of our control right now, especially with the virus. However, what I feel this is allowing you to do, it's allowing you to face certain fears that you've had about you. It is helping you gain or experience or cultivate resilience. Now, to be a leader, resilience is very important. You have to be resilient. To be a leader often is a very lonely place. Very, very lonely place. To be up top can be very lonely. So the month of May and a little bit of June sounds like you're purging out some shadows with respect to not being in control or not being able to have control. And control for some people is really, really big. So because you're not feeling in control, you may become overly controlling. There's indication here that control is an issue, or fear of not having control, or fear of letting go of control, or fear of control being taken away from you. Whatever is, if you feel that, ask yourself this question: what is this creating in me? What's showing up because of this fear? How is this showing me what's inside? And I feel you'll take an opportunity or advantage of that, and you will work through it. So it's going to be different things for different people. Okay? So that's for you, Leos. Now for Sagittarius, Two of Swords in reverse and Queen of Coins in reverse. So there's clearly some indecision. There's a lot of indecisiveness around security. Again, makes perfect sense. For many of you, you will be going back or starting to go back to some sort of normalcy. And whatever stability you have had in the past may not be there anymore. So you will have to recreate it. And because there is a lot of unknown and a lot of speculation, and we can't quite figure out what this is going to mean at the end of the day, we're all in such a different and new place, an unfamiliar place, that it may, and in fact it does, create some instability in the mind. So there's an opportunity to choose to look at something or choose to move in a certain direction, but the fear of not having stability will make it a little bit challenging. Remember, the words for you are trust and allow. Okay? If you're experiencing a lot of resistance, then there's a reason for that. So to understand what you are resisting will give you a pretty good glimpse as to internally what's coming up for you. What sort of fear is being addressed? What sort of fear is being poked? Right? Now, the Queen of Coins in reverse does not mean that you will not have safety and security. Not at all. It doesn't mean that at all. It could mean that you're going to be that in the very near future. But because you're not sure, because everything is so different, because there's so many unknown factors, it's causing you to doubt. Okay? So it does not mean you're not going to be financially stable or safe and secure. It means because of your limited view, it's causing you to be stuck in your head. Okay? So you may have to contend with that in the month of May. And I think that's all I have for you. I really enjoyed this. I really, really, really enjoyed this. If you did too, please subscribe and click the notification button and do comment. I love, 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 love reading your comments. If it helped, if it made sense, I would love to hear from you. If you would like a healing session with me, I'm doing a lot more. I've actually switched. I'm doing a lot more healings now as I was being instructed. If you would like to have a healing session with me that can help you move through these challenging times, I would be honored to have you as to do a healing for you, or if you want a regular session with me, All that information is down below. Thank you so much once again. I wish you a wonderful month of May. And of course, I'll be seeing you in the weekly pulses. Take care of yourself. Good luck and see you soon. Bye-bye.